Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are in Centurion to meet one of the top tech entrepreneurs in South Africa, Mr. Tertius Zitzke. Sir, thank you so much for giving us time to come and visit you.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, it's a very nice welcome to our farm. We call it a nice place to work and be at 4Sight's Holdings. I'm the CEO, Tertius Zitzke, 4Sight's Holdings for the last 3 years. And this is where we make it happen, From DOS to the cloud, Over 40 years I've been involved in the information technology space, and it's really been an excellent journey. Not the end year, so we can interview again in 40 years.
Well, we are ready to learn. Please take us through the journey.
So this is the building.
Okay.
Welcome to the 4Sight.
Thank you.
Facial recognition software.
Okay. Interesting. This is an opportunity to learn from your experience for the past 50 years. May you please take us through the tech history of this country?
Yeah, I think I started, I wrote matric in 1979. I was 17 years old. 78. I started working 79 at Barclays Bank. And then it was processing data already, and we didn't realize it at the time. So you can basically look at the last 4 decades in South African IT industry. So this is my 5th decade now.
That's a long time.
4 decades in a few years. So, and it's been really exciting. I mean, those first years, the 80s, was really the big mainframe computers. You couldn't take your work home. If you want to take your work home, it's a printout. And they gave you Tipex and a pen, and then you correct it, and then they punch it in again or whatever. And that was the way we worked, I joined the Q-Data affiliate, Aplico, Henry Harting in the late in 87, 88. And then we started getting microcomputers. That's when the big thing with DOS started. And Microsoft all of a sudden had this DOS operating systems and networking, so we could connect PCs, and then we started getting ACPAC. I started my trade on ACPAC Plus, the old ACPAC DOS program. Where's the purple box? This one, and it was a big effort. It was blue screens, not green screens, but it was very, very effective software. And it's interesting to note that even some modern software today is without the features that we had in those days, and the instant processing of data, everything was just there. And then we got into the whole world of connectivity in the 90s with the bigger networks, WANs and LANs, and the world really getting together and connected. The 2000s started with the whole internet movement, emails and whatever that developed. The 2010s was mobility, that was the big thing that changed then. Everybody said that 2020 will be, so end of 2010s, we went into the cloud. That was the big move to the cloud from the 2016. And also Azure for South Africa, that happened with Microsoft, the first big data centers. And then 2020s, everybody predicted that we're now entering the era of automation, but it was more physical. It was automotive cars and drones and all that stuff. And then came along the best salesman in the world called COVID, and that turned the whole industry around. So it evolved into the automation of processes around people, because all of a sudden we had to deal with remote workers and all this data all over, and the processing of processes all around, people capturing financial records at home now without the source document physically in their hands, where do you store that for the audit? So it's very interesting times in our company, 4Sight, with our engineers, the big shock was how would they deploy engineering solutions not being on site, but that created more work in Africa, where our guys sit here and with teams appoint a guy in Kenya or wherever, and he will do the work locally, because we couldn't travel. And that just stayed with us, this whole new evolution of the data, around people and the automation of the processes. So it was really quite quite an extensive journey, the last 4 decades. But I really want to show you my museum today. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please go ahead. Let's start viewing your museum and learn from it.
Okay. So this was PowerPoint in the 90s. Okay. Very advanced. A slide like this. We had like 26, 29 of them in a box in a certain order. So if you drop this, your whole demonstration was not going to happen. And we had this slide X, and then you presented this technologies to your customers. Okay. So ACPAC DOS, the #1 selling high-end DOS system in the world, with all the features coming. Reader's Choice Award in 1992. This was owned by Computer Associates, a big IT company in the United States, and this is the ACPAC Plus DOS, accounting for DOS, the Windows system highlights DynaView, all the features of the software. You know, Windows System Manager. They call it Windows System Manager, but it was DOS. Okay, but it was a window where you could toggle between different windows already in those days. Intelligent macros, F7 that you press, then you learn a macro and you could execute that. Smart Finder, we still sell the same stuff. Security then already as a feature in the product, you know, up to 10 open windows while on DOS. Where on earth would you think that this was possible 30 years ago? The modules there, accounts payable, accounts receivable, purchase orders, order entry, all those functions for businesses available. Networkable, import, export of data, not into Excel then, it was Lotus 1, 2, 3, okay? High-end accounting definition, the financial reports, checks, you could print checks. Those days we still print checks, okay? There were no EFT or login into banks available. Your bank reconciliation was physically, you received your bank statement through the mail and did a tick on that and did your bank reconciliation like that. DynaView, the reporting tool for DOS from Computer Associates, you know, multi-currency, big thing then already, you know, to trade in multiple currencies, you know, with functional and source currencies on the different ledgers, different accounts, you know, multi-years, you know, roll back journals into previous year. So it was very feature-rich programs. But then if you look at what did it actually entail to install that, just pass me that discs there, roll back. So you would get for one program, General Ledger, you would get a stack of stiffies like this to install. Okay, before that it was floppies, that machine there. So, and then as you would get to floppy 15 of 16, it will say gar gar gar, gar gar gar. Then this thing got damaged, and then you must drive back to Joburg, get a new stiffy, and then insert and start the whole process again. And your customer will not pay for that time. Okay, that was your problem as a partner. So then after that we got, okay, in the days of DOS as well, we had a lot of tools like PC tools. I think all the old guys will remember that. So there was, how many slides? 14 disks, floppies to install, and then you could do all sort of things on microcomputers, you know. We even had video cassettes, you know, to show our customers, you know, what's the features of the software. You know, we had in 1995 this Microsoft Computer Associates, they brought this catalog out, and you can search. Now there were no online search for new products, so you could search and phone or fax the partner that developed this in America and ask him for a brochure. And then he will answer you back a day later, and then you can ask him a question again the Wednesday, and the Thursday and the Friday, finally you've got an answer to your customer.
This much, it looks like it was a lot of work for salespeople. Do you think the guys in the current years can appreciate the effort you guys put
Exactly,
to do
and
this?
you know, my first rate when I started consulting was 60 rands per hour. And it paid my salary, you know, and my car and everything else, you know. So Windows came 95, you know, the whole ACPAC for Windows came out then. The big move was on ACPAC on SQL database, and then it just evolved, you know, and it's where data now is the key driver for us. And it doesn't matter. We still have customers running ACPAC for Windows and this older systems, but the one thing about computer software is that the data is always very fresh.
Okay.
Because the transaction that you do now, even on an old app, that's there. And now you can put it into a data lake and do analysis and predictive analytics and on that for your customer.
Interesting terms. In terms of the development of skills over the 40 years, can you just maybe take us through that journey?
Okay, I always say there's three things if you want to be in this game. It's a formal qualification, so you know what's the rules for accounting, how do you treat tax and VAT and all this stuff. You need that knowledge in a consultant, okay? Especially information technology. It's the same for payroll consultants or human resources or supply chain, purchase orders. You need that background. Then you need experience. And so experience is a thing that you only get through learning, but learn next to somebody else to learn the trade. How do you do this? How do you set up certain parameters or whatever? And then technical skills. You can't go without technical skills today. So even an accountant with a BCom accounting degree that can install the systems, or he thinks so, but he still needs that deep down data and SQL skills in order to extract data and upload data. And then if you combine that correctly, after 3 years, you've got a super consultant that can really evolve into this. But I would say to be a really successful consultant in the ERP space, information technology, you need like a 10-year good experience, and then you're really on top of your game, and go forward and go bigger and better. But specialization as well. So we've got guys that specialize on customer relation management systems, data analytics, some guys on human resource systems, so the specialization is there as well. In the past, I could install all those systems that we saw on that system slide, but not today anymore. It's a total team effort. Yeah.
You have a passion for training and development talent, and as 4Sight, you currently have a program. Will you take us through that program? What's happening around that?
So our program running now, we called it Project Phoenix after the things that happened in KwaZulu-Natal last year, July. We said, now let's train people there. So we employed 50 people. We gave them contracts, learnership contracts, and with the CETA, and Africa Cocoon, we actually developed that whole program for them. So by the end of July, they will be fully trained. 25 ERP functional consultants and 25 cloud developers, So we really very, very much on the way with that,
Okay, interesting. And just moving forward, the tech space at the moment seems to be under pressure. There's a lot of job cuts, everybody is announcing that, and yet you guys seem to be growing. Can you just maybe elaborate a bit more in terms of what you guys and your general view of the tech space?
So last year, this time, we were 340 staff. Right now, we're 456. Okay, so it's a huge growth. Okay, including that 50 students. But we will uptake those students and place them with some of our partners. So we're busy with the interviews now that we can actually fit them where they will be the most applicable, and the best for their skills and their characters. And I know what we budgeted for this year, so it's a growth, path that we budgeted for, and the positions that's available. And I've never run my business on, I can't hire somebody if there's no budget. I will always hire somebody if there's a job for him, and if there's a customer that wants our service. So we might sign a big deal next month, and then we need people urgently, and then we upskill. And we recruit and train.
And what's your view regarding the tech space as a whole in terms of jobs? What's happening here in SA?
I think in the tech industry, I know that the big guys, Microsoft, all the other guys, they announced some serious job cuts beginning of this year. I think that's always happening in the big corporates, you know, and it's not that bad because a lot of those people start their own businesses or they join companies like us, and it's just continuing in growth for them as well because they're so well entrenched in their domains that they will forever stay a Microsoft ambassador or a Sage ambassador, and that's. So I don't see it as a bad thing overall. It's a big stimulus for business growth, definitely, back to those vendors. And everything in the world goes in curves like that. But I think the micro IT consulting companies don't have that problem.
And do you think the agent interventions that are needed to try and protect the industry and jobs locally?
I think we lose a lot of people to overseas. You know, in 2021 it was bad, but that was, I think, the surge after when everything opened up again.
Yep.
So the immigration was bad for us as well. You know, semi-migration people working here but supporting somebody in Europe or especially in Australia because you do it early in the morning and then you don't work the afternoon. America is different because you can't work in South Africa. Supporting somebody in New York when all your friends are having a beer and having a braai. That's a fact. That's a life thing. So I think that overall, you know, what we need to do is to retain the talent, you know, and unfortunately, you know, in South Africa, you know, there's we've got certain laws that's not that favorable. Like Afrikaans-speaking white male is just not. He's not where he should be, you know. He will get a job very easily overseas and then leave the country, you know.
Okay. Going forward, you are still in the running of the tech industry.
Yeah, I'm 61 years. I'm 61 years young.
What's coming from you? What's new from 4Sight? Where is the next step? So just take us through.
So the best new thing is that thing that we are building this thing. We call it our 4Sight Galaxy. So it's really the converging of the operational technologies of a company, the information technology in the business environment. And that's what we've been propagating the last 3 years, and it paid out very well for us, that strategy. And to take that into the next level, and we're building industry specific, we call it galaxies, you know. So there's a galaxy for government, you know, all the services that they need. There's one for mining, one for manufacturing, one for consulting service companies, you know. So we specialize in all those verticals and horizontal markets very well.
Okay, no, thank you. And in conclusion, what message do you have for a tech enthusiast out there who has listened to this story, 40-year journey that you've gone through?
If you're technology orientated, you will know that already at school. Okay, so join the programs online. There's a lot of programs online. You know, some of our interns don't even have a tertiary a degree or a certificate after school, but they tech savvy, and some of our best consultants today, you know, they never had a third degree or whatever, but they qualified themselves into the competencies offered by the big, we call it the gorillas, the Microsofts and the Sage and the Aspen Techs and all these companies, and get that certification, and then you go into the business or you start working and get it on the way anyway. So a graduate BCom guy with us today, he must still get all his certifications on Microsoft and Sage ERP. He can't simply go and install. So you need that qualification, you know, certification from the vendor, and then you will succeed.
Sarah, thank you so much for your time and for learning your journey and sharing the story. Thank you so much.
We will talk again in 40 years' time.
Definitely. We'll chat. Thank you so much.
So this is called a laptop from the late 80s, 90s. So you had to start this up by inserting a DOS disk, and then you start up the system. Then you could take that out, and then you start inserting all these floppies to install the program. Once the program is up and running, you could then take another disk and insert your data, and then that disk had all the data on, and then you could start saving on that disk. Later there was first a 10 meg and then a 20 megabyte hard disk in here, so at least the stuff was saved on the hard disk. but you had still to make a off-site backup on floppies. After that, that was a 512K floppy. Then we got this double-sided high-density 2 meg stiffy. Later CDs, where the whole program could go on one CD, but it's still very labor intensive, and this is if one disk is bad, you start the whole process over. So luckily now, from DOS to the cloud.